But first tonight, our big story tonight. The government has submitted names of 3 persons with bank accounts in Switzerland. None of them so far is a politician. This is what has happened today. The list figures only prominent businessmen. This was placed before the Supreme Court. The first name is that of Pradeep Burman of the Dabar Group. Others are the owner of a Goa-based mining company, Radha Timlo, and a Rajkot-based bullion trader, Pankaj Chimanlal Lodhia. The names are part of an affidavit that the government has filed in the apex court.
I don't have any Swiss account, so I don't have the actually right now. जब आप मुझे बोल रहे तब मुझे ये सब पता चल रहा है. I don't have any Swiss account. Whatever the prosecution, we will just reply. और हमारा ऐसा कुछ है नहीं. जो भी है हमने बुक्स में जो है वो सब दिखा दिया है और जो भी है हमने ऑलरेडी डिक्लेयर कर दिया है.
It is in the Supreme Court. The affidavit is being filed in Supreme Court. Now, I really want to see what is the affidavit is. And then only we will have comments. I don't have to say anything, I have to see the affidavit. If you have the affidavit, please give it to me.
Okay, blackmail, not black money. That's how the Congress is describing Narendra Modi government's first black money list. This 3-name list has triggered a war of words already between the two political parties, with the Aam Aadmi Party also joining in. Brajesh Pandey and Ashar Khan now report.
Are you challenging the government? They can reveal all the 800 names. It will be okay with
I dare Mr. Arun Jaitley, I dare Mr. Narendra Modi, I dare Mr. Mohan Bhagwat to do that.
An open declaration of war against the Narendra Modi government. Congress, once under fire from BJP for dragging its feet on black money, now on the offensive. 3 big questions revolving around allegations of selective leakages, of picking and of blackmail. Parties reflect the Congress mood, charging the government with backtracking on its poll promises.
चुनाव में इतना बड़ा मुद्दा बनाने के बाद जब उनको मौका मिला तो उसके बाद वो इस तरीके से सिर्फ इन 3 नामों के से लेकर सामने आना, ये जो है अपने आप में उनकी जो उद्देश्य जो है उसको स्पष्ट करती है.
The civil society especially peeved with not a single politician being named by the government in its list.
Prime Minister candidate of BJP goes with Mr. Baba Ramdev and tells people, fools people of this country, that within 500 days we shall bring back all the black money and deposit 3 lakh rupees in each individual account. That is hypocrisy.
It's only managed to get out those 3 names which had come out previously by efforts of the UPA government, and this whole process of selective leakage of names seems to be very suspicious.
For Modi government, which had opposed disclosure of names in a Supreme Court hearing just a week ago, the affidavit could be a start. But for a nation looking for specifics, it is no more than a misfire. With Ashar Khan and Brajesh Pandey in Delhi, Shujoy, Headlines Today.
Okay, the big question. Black money case, is the government leaking names selectively? That's the question that is being asked today. Is the government leaking names selectively? Let's go straight and talk to people who found their names being leaked today selectively. Some are accusing the government of leaking these names selectively. Earlier today, I spoke to the bullion trader from Rajkot, Pankaj Chimanlal Lodhia, on being named by the centre as one of the 3 illicit account holders. I began by asking Mr. Lodhia the first and basic questions. Did he have an account in a Swiss bank or not? Did he have a foreign bank account or not? Listen in to what Mr. Lodhia had to say.
स्विस बैंक में अकाउंट नहीं है. मैं शायद आज 1000वीं बार बोल रहा हूँ. अभी तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि एक स्विस बैंक में अकाउंट होना चाहिए.
नहीं, मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ मिस्टर लोधिया, क्या गवर्नमेंट ने फिर आपका नाम डिलिबरेटली किया है? इस एफिडेविट में आपका नाम क्यों है? Why is your name there in this affidavit, Mr. Lodhia?
नहीं. See, I'm not saying that the government has put the name deliberately, but once I get some the things in front of me, then only I can give you the proper answer for that.
Sir, but am I right to say that you may have a foreign bank account at some stage? Have you held a foreign bank account or not?
Definitely, all the golds have been imported in India has been coming from out of India only. See, only thing is we are importing the gold through banks and nominated agencies, so definitely all the gold is coming from out of India only.
You know, Mr. Lodhia, has the Enforcement Directorate or the Income Tax sent you a notice for allegedly having a foreign bank account, yes or no?
Yes, definitely right.
So you have received a notice, but in the affidavit it is also claimed investigations have now begun against you.
Sir, I don't know, actually I don't know. मुझे मालूम नहीं है.
No, you don't know what, Mr. Lodhia. I mean, I need clarity from you. Are you saying that you have or have you at any stage had a foreign bank account without declaring it to the Reserve Bank? Or are you saying you are simply a small fish?
See, I am based at Rajkot, so I don't know what are the movements being done and what are the things and what are the issues. I am just concerned with my company. I don't know what is happening with and what are the political movements. I don't know anything.
Have you, Mr. Lodhia, given money at any stage to any political party? Have you given any of the money that you have in your bullion trade given to any political party, Congress or BJP?
Nothing.
Nothing. You've given no money.
Nothing. We don't
Mr.
have any
Lodhia,
concern.
if I may ask you, is your total annual income? How much do you? How big is your business?
For that already we have given all the submission and all the queries raised by them. We already given the answer to them.
You are saying, Mr. Lodhia, in this interview that you've never had any black money. You have always declared your income tax.
See, whatever the income, I'm just disclosing in my books of account, and we are just giving the things in the books of account, and we have declared.
Okay. Mr. Lodhia there, speaking to me earlier from Rajkot, very short, brief answers, but basically making the point, claiming he doesn't have a Swiss bank account. Now, the fact is that this matter has been brewing for several years now. The BJP, when it was in opposition, had even appointed a committee to look at the issue of black money. One of the members of that committee was senior advocate Mahesh Jethmalani. I spoke to him too a short while ago and I asked him, Mr. Jethmalani, people believe today that the BJP in opposition was giving the sense that many names were going to come out once they were in government. Within 100 days, they would reveal several names. Today, when we find just 3 names being revealed, do you believe that certain big names have been spared, Mr. Jethmalani?
Well, you know, I'm not willing to attribute motives to this government as my father has done. But certainly there is some cause for being a little disconcerted about what is happening, because it seems to be a case willingly or by sheer being blindsided by the bureaucracy which misled the previous government, of there being an impression that this government hasn't found its feet in this matter yet, frankly. Because for one thing, I think one of the affidavits filed by the government have said that the names are all with the SIT anyway. The entire list of names are with the SIT.
Mr. Jethmalani though is saying under the rules they cannot disclose these names till the prosecution begins. Do you go by the government's logic?
No, frankly speaking, after the Supreme Court judgment and even after the attempt at review by the UPA government, there is no scope for the government to have any role in this matter. The recovery of black money in accounts stashed in offshore havens is now the responsibility of the Supreme appointed SIT, monitored by the Supreme Court on a continuous basis. So I don't understand why this application was made for a modification of that order and so on and so forth. The whole thing to me is incomprehensible, and I don't know why this government is saying that they can't disclose names, because I understand that the entire list of names is with the SIT, the only body empowered by the Supreme Court to investigate this money, to investigate black money.
So effectively what you are telling me, Mr. Jethmalani, today is that the names that are before the special investigation team, all these names can be made public. There is nothing legally, in your view, no taxation agreement that we have, bilateral taxation agreement, whether it's with Germany or whether it's with France or whether it's with Switzerland, that prevents these names from being made public.
The DTA does not apply at all. the DTAA, the Double Taxation Avoidance Treaty, is a treaty under which two countries reciprocate tax arrangements and avoid double taxation for a given citizen who may be of doubtful residence in one of the two jurisdictions. This is not the case. In this case, Rajdeep, there are two countries, France and Germany, who have obtained these account holders' names from France from the HSBC Bank in Geneva and Germany from Liechtenstein.
Yes.
Both these countries announced when they first got this list that they had not only their own citizens' names on that list, but they had the names of citizens of other countries as account holders, and they are willing to give it without any conditions so long as the country of those citizens ask them for it. This whole DTAA is a red herring which the UPA government was severely criticized for, and I don't know why the NDA government is following its footsteps. I really do not know what is happening. It baffles me why a finance minister of the capability of Arun Jaitley should do this.
Well, if it baffles you, I don't know what we should be doing, but you're very clearly saying, therefore, that once these names are provided to the Indian government, which in turn provides it to the special investigation team which has been appointed by the Supreme Court to look at the black money issue, the name should be immediately declared. You don't see any rules of privacy operating here?
Absolutely. There is no legal impediment and there is no international treaty obligation at the moment which prohibits this government or indeed the previous one from publishing the entire list of account holders sent by the Germans in the Liechtenstein Bank and the French in the HSB Bank. All these names can be in the public domain. The only competing interest which one would take cognizance of if one were a prudent government is the right of privacy. And frankly speaking, the right of privacy is completely overwhelmed in this case by public interest. And right now, you have a UN treaty on corruption, a UN convention on corruption, which says, particularly in poor countries, that the need to recover stolen money, siphoned money, which belongs to the poor people of this country and the entire populace at large, is certainly an overwhelming circumstance as opposed to some international obligation of tax treaties.
But you know what, Mr. Jethmalani, if these people have legitimate accounts, I'm an NRI, I have a foreign bank account, the fear is that by simply disclosing names, you can't prove guilt. Just because I have a foreign bank account doesn't mean I'm guilty. Do you believe the government needs to make that important distinction before disclosing all the names you're talking of?
Rajdeep, let me put it this way. If you or me had accounts legitimately abroad, what would be the possible harm caused to either of us? After all, you have to disclose it to your income tax authorities in this country that you have an account. If you're an Indian citizen with an account abroad, legitimately held or not, legitimately held.
Yes.
Then you have to disclose it to the income tax authorities.
Yes.
What is the great detriment caused by publication of the fact? In fact, a lot of people would be extremely proud that they have the legal capacity to open an account abroad and hold monies there.
You know, in a sense, then what you're saying is, even though you're a member of the BJP, that you seem to see some kind of a collusion where politicians are colluding not to take either each other's names or really the big names who you believe could well have the accounts, because really some of the names that have been revealed today are not necessarily new. One of them certainly was revealed as early as January.
Well, I can't blame anybody. I'm going to be very circumspect here because I have not totally left politics and I'm still very attached to Mr. Modi and the BJP. But I have to say that this government, by sheer incompetence or design, I can't say, is unnecessarily creating the impression that it is colluding along with the previous corrupt government. It's colluding with the previous corrupt government.
Okay, that's a very strong statement. You believe this government is colluding possibly with what you're calling the previous corrupt government. Let's raise that question and then widen this debate further today, because we're going to focus on this black money issue. GVL Narasimha Rao, national spokesperson of the BJP with us. Sanjay Jha, national spokesperson of the Congress with us. R.K. Handu is chairman of the ASSOCHAM National Council, and Yogendra Yadav is chief spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. GVL Narasimha Rao, you're hearing Mahesh Jethmalani, who was part of your task force appointed by the BJP when you were in opposition to look at the black money issue, saying either because of incompetence or for some other reason, you seem to be colluding and doing exactly the same thing that the previous quote-unquote corrupt UPA government was doing. How do you respond? There are people within your own party now who are raising questions, Mr. GBL Narasimha Rao.
I think this is possibly because of lack of some knowledge. I'm getting echo, so if that can be fixed quickly, I think it will help me.
Yeah, please go ahead.
There seems to be a lot of misinformation, and there is also a lot of lack of knowledge how this process is going on within the government. And to that extent, I think these apprehensions, I think I can explain these misgivings only by this statement.
Let's be clear. Misinformation, misapprehension. I want clarity. I want to remove that recorded bug which is there now. The program is now, we are back to live. I want to ask you, Mr. GBL Narasimha Rao, very, very clearly. You've got a Mahesh Jetmalani today telling me on this program, a member of your task force, wondering whether it is bureaucratic incompetence or some other reason why other names are not being revealed. He says the double tax avoidance agreement is simply a sham. It doesn't prevent you. There's a UN Convention on Corruption that ensures that you can reveal all names. What is it that is stopping you from revealing all the names? Why reveal 3 names, one of which has already been revealed in January? 3 small fish.
I think this has already been clarified and stated by the finance minister. I think, are we interested in results? Are we interested in getting to the bottom of it and getting results out of this whole activity? Or simply we want to name and shame some people, even if it means that we cannot really get anywhere as far as the end results are concerned.
Mr. GBL Narasimha Rao, when you were in opposition, you wanted people to be named and shamed. Your leadership on the floor of parliament was asking the UPA government, why aren't you naming people? They said, reveal all the names. Now you're saying, why do you want us to name and shame? That is precisely the issue.
No,
you said one thing in opposition, one thing in government.
No, our position is different.
Mr. Narasimha Rao, this affidavit that is there before the court is exactly the same affidavit virtually that the UPA brought out. What is the difference?
No, I think as a first step, I think 3 charges have been filed against 3 individuals, and the process will now go on. And charges will be filed.
These charges were filed in the earlier government.
People, and
they were not filed by your government.
Wherever people have... No, notices have been sent by this government in the last 4 months. This is what even the gentleman that you interviewed was mentioning. I think this government has sent notices in the last 3-4 months and have taken this issue to logical conclusion. I think the first few cases will certainly take a lot of time.
So you're saying more names will come out. You're saying no one will be protected, more names will come out. This is only the first tranche of names.
No one. This government needs to protect nobody. Nobody remotely connected with the BJP is involved in any of the names.
Sanjay,
if there is anything that the opposition, it's the Congress party that has to really explain to this country. Some of their names do appear in the list, and they will be investigated in due course of time.
Sanjay Jha, respond to what you are hearing from GBL Narasimha Rao. This is only the first tranche or just the teaser. Aage dekhiye hota hai kya is what the BJP seems to be suggesting. They are moving, they claim, in the direction of sending out notices and prosecuting people. Once the prosecution process begins, names will be revealed.
Well, Rajdeep, let me tell you, if you have read the affidavit submitted by this government to the Supreme Court, this government is actually pleading to the Supreme Court to maintain privacy and confidentiality, because this government is suddenly woken up that it has to worry about diplomatic relationships. I mean, you know, what is happening today is the most brazen U-turn ever seen. Mr. Modi, and I have got many of his speeches, including other members of the BJP, hoodwinked the people of India during the elections, talking about black money, making it appear to be the biggest corruption scandal ever to hit India. The truth is that they went to town telling that the UPA must reveal all the names. Now Mr. Jaitley's affidavit, or rather what Mr. Mukul Rohtgi has submitted on behalf of the government, says kindly allow the Supreme Court, that pleading to say we don't want to reveal more names unless the matter reaches up to prosecution level. But let me tell you, Rajdeep, how they have actually hoodwinked the entire country.
The NDA is saying more names will come. NDA is saying more names will come, Mr. Sanjay Jha.
Let me tell you one thing, Rajdeep. More names were submitted by the UPA, both regarding the LGT Bank including the HSBC Geneva accounts which were stolen and given to the French. The more names were declared by us to the Supreme Court. But let me tell you the real truth here. Mr. Ram Jethmalani has himself gone on record to say that Mr. Arun Jaitley and the BJP government is misleading the Supreme Court, is creating a platform for the greatest criminals to find an
Ram
escape route.
Jethmalani has
And
a private war with Arun Jaitley.
We have nothing to hide.
Ram Jethmalani has a private war with Arun Jaitley.
leaders who are
Let me tell you the
involved.
truth. No, but you look at their affidavit of this government is clearly making a case saying, kindly allow us to keep the names confidential, otherwise it will jeopardize the agreement that they want to sign with the United States of America. So what you are witnessing is a huge subterfuge. The ultimate con artists who have played around with the people of India, won an election on black money, and today have been caught red-handed.
Mr. Sanjay Jha, it's nice to see the Congress take the high moral ground today, but this matter has been pending from 2008. And what I find interesting, we are now in 2014. Yogendra Yadav, 3 names have been revealed. The Aam Aadmi Party is producing its own list claiming other names are there. Now the worry is that all this is being done for politics. At the end of the day, there is a special investigation team under the supervision of the Supreme Court. Why not allow that team to function independently without AAP naming names on its own, without the BJP claiming there is a Congress minister who could be embarrassed, without Sanjay Jha claiming that the BJP is hiding names? Why is this all falling in the political domain, Yogendra Yadav? Why not allow the SIT to function independently?
Rajdeep, it's only thanks to politics, it's only thanks to the press conference held by Prashant Bhushan and Arvind Kejriwal 2 years ago that these things came to light, they became public. Let me say it's such a pleasure today to agree with Mr. Sanjay Jha and Mr. Narasimha Rao. It's rare for me. Mr. Narasimha Rao is absolutely right about Congress's bad faith. And Mr. Sanjay Jha is absolutely right about BJP's U-turn and its subterfuge. The problem is that they don't recognize the other part of what they are saying. Rajdeep, it's not merely a case of subterfuge, U-turn or hypocrisy that happens in politics all the time. All the reasons that Mr. Narasimha Rao is citing today or Mr. Arun Jaitley had cited were discussed and discarded by the BJP only a few months ago. They brought adjournment motion, they demanded loudly, and Mr. Rajnath Singh went and said and promised to the nation that within 150 days all these, not only the names will be disclosed, but the black money would be brought back to the country. But it's not merely a case of hypocrisy. They knew the Supreme Court. It's not really for me to give opinions on these things. Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani is absolutely right, but what he's saying is all that the Supreme Court had already said. It's in black and white. Supreme Court actually said the reasoning by the UPA government was disingenuous. I mean, this is a severe indictment of the government at that time. Supreme Court said there is no law that prevents you from disclosing names. Please go ahead and do it. There is UN convention. In any case, these pertain to Liechtenstein and not to Germany. Supreme Court has indicted the government, and after that,
but why not allow the Supreme Court and SIT to do it?
Very strange. But as I keep saying,
no, but why
it's
are
not
political
only hypocrisy.
Professor Yadav, why are political parties? You see, today you are revealing various names, and somebody else will reveal a name. Shouldn't you allow this to go through the due process of law? That's my limited point. Moment it has got into the political domain, it has become, the entire issue has got confused.
Rajdeep, number one, we have not disclosed any new name today. We have only reiterated what we said in November 2012. And this is when the media said, look, you have no evidence, you've named Berman's. And today, Mr. Berman's name comes here in the list. So it is legitimate for us to ask this question. Are the big fish being somehow carefully kept aside? Are we catching only the small fish? And Rajdeep, unless this issue comes up, and all we are demanding is disclosure of names, and as you rightly said, disclosure of name does not make them guilty, does not make them criminal. Let them come out with their defense, and that's exactly what the Supreme Court says. This is exactly what the rule of law and due process is. Disclosure of name, simply saying you have prima facie accounts that you did not disclose to tax authorities, then the onus is on for you to prove that no, you had good reasons. Why don't you come ahead and give good reasons? Remember, Rajdeep, we have had very big fishes here. Just one point, Mr. Narasimha Rao said, just one point to Mr. Narasimha Rao. He said none of these names is even remotely connected to BJP. Let me suggest a less than remote connection. the Association for Democratic Reform, not Aam Aadmi Party, one of the leading NGOs on this question, which has no political links, has disclosed this evening that Timlo Private Limited, which is owned by one of the three persons named today, has Radha Timlo.
Yes, she has donated money to the
BJP 9 times and thrice to Congress.
How does
there is nothing wrong.
How does that really make BJP guilty?
Or not?
Yeah, no, the point is there is nothing wrong again for Radha Timlo to be donating money to the BJP or Congress,
you said there was.
But it does raise questions. It does raise questions over the kind of people who have foreign bank accounts and their links to political parties. Mr. Handu, do you therefore believe that, as Yogendra Yadav is now suggesting, if I have nothing to hide and I have a foreign bank account, why should I be worried about my name being disclosed? Why this cloak and dagger, even among corporate India, even among, do you believe that this legal fiction which seems to be carried about? Double tax avoidance agreement, therefore no names can be disclosed. Do you believe this is a legal fiction being used by the powerful to escape scrutiny, Mr. Handu?
Rajdeep ji,
yes,
I do differ with Mr. Yogendra Yadav.
Yes.
Merely because we are now at the moment, I'm sorry to say, indulging in shame game by disclosing the names A, B, C, D. I think the government, when it works and operates, it operates very responsibly. And I think earlier when the stand had been taken before the Supreme Court by the Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi that they cannot disclose the name, there was a reason for that. But unfortunately later on they elected to disclose the name, which they have done only partially.
But the fact is, the same argument was made by Pranab Mukherjee 3 years ago, and he was completely pilloried. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, when he was finance minister, made the same argument as Arun Jaitley.
Permit me for a second.